Hi guys, I thought I'd shoot a quick video to give you a run through my current Zwift setup and explain why it works really well for me. I've been using Zwift for about 10 months now and absolutely loving it. I think it's an amazing training tool, but I think like for many users, it's taken me a little bit of time to figure out what setup works best for me in my particular circumstances. What you can see here is what I'm using at the moment. Works really well for me. Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of space. I'm living in an inner city apartment, so I have to do the Zwifting in the living room. There's no dedicated pain cave, unfortunately. But this setup I can get up and running in about 5 minutes, 5 minutes to move all the stuff away again. So that's only about 10 minutes added to the entire process, which isn't too bad really. So 1.5 hours or so gets you a really useful training session. Okay, now let's have a look at the individual components that I'm using, and I'll explain you why I'm using them. So living in an apartment, noise is an issue, although I have to say I've got pretty tolerant neighbors, no complaints so far. Still, I'm trying my best to keep the noise down. So I'm using a dedicated trainer mat, which is great at protecting the floor, catching sweat and so on. But it's not so great at vibration damping because it's pretty thin. So I've added just a couple of those kind of styrofoam tiles under the trainer. They're designed for use with any sort of gym equipment, and they're really good at vibration damping. So at the front here, I'm using a riser for the front wheel. This is, just to keep the bike level. Works well, but not really necessary. You could use a phone book or anything else. There's just no phone books around anymore these days. So this is an old and slightly crappy Samsung laptop that I exclusively use for Zwift. The graphics aren't great on Zwift, but it does all the important stuff right. So you get the power measurement, all the data transmission. At the end of the day, that's what counts for me. I'm not playing computer games. I just want to get a good training and a little bit of fun, and that's what it's good for. I've got an external and plus cable here, and with an extension, and the receiving end I've placed between the trainer and the crank. So I've got a 4i power meter on that left crank here. So when I place the AND plus sensor right in the middle between the trainer and the AND plus power meter, that gives me the best reception I've found. Bluetooth, both of those devices work with Bluetooth as well, but I've just found AND plus much more reliable than Bluetooth. So let's have a look at the centerpiece of my setup here. This is an Elite Rampa smart trainer. As far as smart trainers go, this is a fairly affordable unit. I think I paid 380 euros for it, so that's maybe 430 or 440 US dollars at the moment. It's really good in terms of delivering resistance on the rear wheel. It can go up to 800 watts or so, which is more than enough, I'd say, for your typical indoor training. There's no wheel slippage either. Transition when power changes is really smooth. So the whole pedaling feel is pretty natural. What it's not very good at, unfortunately, is measuring power. So it uses the resistance and the wheel speed and all sorts of other parameters to estimate power and feed that power data into Zwift. And unfortunately, it's way too optimistic. So I did an FTP test on this a few months ago, and the result was like 360 watts. So I wish that was true. Unfortunately, it isn't. That's at least 60 to 70 watts more than I'd get from my on-bike power meter. That's not much of a problem if you only train with power on your indoor trainer, because it's too high, but it's consistently too high. So, your training programs will still work. It's just all the numbers are too high, but you don't really need to worry about that. It does become a problem though when you also train with power on the road and use your on-bike power meter, because then you get your power data all mixed up on Strava and other training apps. So this is why I finally decided to use my proper road race bike on the trainer. I used to use a dedicated trainer bike that didn't have a power meter in it, but it just turned out that training with power both on the trainer and on the road wasn't possible because all the data would get mixed up. I tried to calibrate the Elite Rampa trainer, which you can do with the app that is included, but it didn't work too well. It's measuring much lower now, but it's still measuring too high, and it's just not accurate enough. So what I decided to do is use the road bike, and instead of connecting the trainer power measurement to Zwift, connect the bike power meter. So on the laptop screen you can see my connections here. Power source is the 4i power meter on the bike, same for cadence, and the trainer is also connected like the power meter through N+, but it only provides the resistance, so I'm not using the actual power reading from the trainer. I'm using also a Bluetooth heart rate monitor, and I connect that through the Zwift companion app, and that works really well. Okay, so this was a quick overview over my current Zwift setup. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments. Bye bye.